You know, before you type a Facebook status, the app always asks you what's on your mind. For somebody whose mind never stops racing, how do you pinpoint what exactly is on your mind? God. You know, I love my life so much. No, my life is not perfect. I actually wrote a book about the imperfections in my life. Um, but God shows up in every aspect of my life. I will never get tired of spreading the good news. I will never get tired of telling people about how I used to pray that I would die. But He still woke me up. About how I used to purposely dehydrate myself, purposely not eat, purposely not take medicine that I knew I needed to take to stay alive, even while I was pregnant, because I didn't want to wake up. But I didn't want to commit suicide. You go to hell if you commit suicide, but the things I was doing would have still been committing suicide because I knew that I needed to do certain things to stay alive and I wasn't doing them. I was living a very distasteful life and didn't even realize that I was the reason. Um, for 6.5 years, I was with my ex-husband. That relationship should have never started. He was younger than me. I was 19 and he was 16. Um, but I turned 20 and he was abusive and he was a cheater. He was very heavy in the streets and he was very entangled with different people in the streets. He would sleep with people all the time, and I got tired of always having to defend myself to protect my body and always having to fight him because he thought I was doing what he was doing. Um, he was a very good uncle to my nephew that we raised together. He treated him like he was his own. He loved kids. He had a lot of nephews and nieces. I had a lot of nephews and nieces. I never had a problem with him helping me take care of kids, but he was not the man for me. He wasn't even a man, honestly. I was a woman, but he wasn't a man. I hadn't been through half of the stuff he had been through. So I guess maturity wise, he was technically a man, but I was way, way more wise, way smarter, and way more mature than him in so many different ways. I was like a mother figure to him. And it's crazy to look at it like that, but like, yeah, I was 3.5 years older than him, and he was 16, so I turned 20 before he turned 17. And even though I was naive, I still understood the age gap. His mom didn't care. She was okay. He dated women older than me before we got together. His mom didn't care. Um, my biggest issue was that I was already in college. I was already working. And when I got with him, he was working, but he quit his job because I already had everything he needed. I had a house, I had 2 cars, I had money. I didn't need anything from him. So instead of him adding to what I was doing, he was childlike because he was still basically a child, you know? Even though he was in the streets really heavy because his mom was not protecting him, he was in the streets really heavy, he still was technically a child. Like, age wise, he was a child, but mentally, this man was beyond his years. He would do some really messed up stuff to me, but I think about the fact that I wouldn't have went through that if I wouldn't have dated him, you know? I didn't know how old he was when we first started dating. That's another red flag. Like, I didn't know everything about him when we first started dating. All I knew was that he was cousins with my sister's husband. So that's how I met him, at one of the kids' birthday parties. Um, like, she was turning 6, I think, and he was at her birthday party. That's how I met him. And I just think about the fact that although he put me through a lot, he went through a lot as a kid, like a young kid. He was not protected at all, and a lot of things that happened to him. So honestly, I was kind of like his savior, but I'm not God. That's where I went wrong. I felt like me and my family protecting him and inviting him to cookouts and doing things for him, buying him things and taking care of him was a way to help heal him. But I'm not God. I should have been turning him to God. I shouldn't have been marrying him. I shouldn't have been in a relationship with him. He was very broken. And I have a healing heart, a healing soul. I thought I could heal him. But when I turned 25 and the cheating never stopped, he started doing drugs and he got even more abusive. I couldn't do it anymore. We had a baby. At this point, we had already had 4 miscarriages and we were just raising my sister's kids. But we had a baby and he was still cheating. So I'm like, after 4 miscarriages, we finally have a successful pregnancy and you still don't get it. You're just a boy. You don't understand. So I told him, I'm not going to put you on child support. I'm not going to do none of that. I just want a divorce. He wouldn't allow me to get a divorce. Mind you, he cheated for 6.5 years. He wouldn't allow me to get a divorce. And I was like, we're separated. I literally said we're separated. And I moved into my own place and he moved in with the girl he was cheating on me with. As soon as he found out I had a boyfriend, he tried to kill me. Fast forward, that boyfriend, I wound up having 3 kids with that boyfriend. I got divorced. My ex-husband started going in and out of jail. He lost it. When I left him, he lost it. I separated him from his daughter because he was on drugs and he started selling drugs way worse than he ever did before, and he was threatening to kill me. So I separated him from his daughter, and the guy that I started dating thought he was my savior. This man broke my jaw within a year of being with him. I was only with him for 3.5 years. We had 3 kids. He broke my jaw, and then 2 years later, he broke my ribs. So guess what? I moved out of town with my kids. So I have 4 kids and my nephew, 5 kids. It's been 2.5 years since I left town, and what's on my mind today is God. I wrote a book about my experiences in my life. I wrote a book about the things that I've been through. And I started a podcast about the things I've been through. I've collaborated with some pretty dope individuals. I'm a senior hairstylist for Kansas City Fashion Week. I've been in the hair industry for well over 12 years. I have so many positive things going on in my life, and I'm about to launch my book tour. I just published my book. It'll be on Amazon very shortly, but I'm about to start a book tour. I got so many things going on in my life, and all I think about is the fact that young Rosemary never understood what love was. Like, I love so hard. I never felt what it was like to be genuinely loved. No strings attached. No abuse attached. Nobody needing anything from me. Just genuinely loving me. And now I have a church family that treats me well, and now I have a better relationship with my mom, and I'm just starting to understand, like, God's love is something that I could have had all along, and I never knew how to achieve it. I thank God that I do now.